Hello, welcome to my sketchbook tour. This is my first ever sketchbook that I've completed, and I am super excited to share it with everyone. So let's get right to it. This is a Khadi Papers sketchbook. It's got some beautiful quality paper, really great for watercolours. And on the front, I have a sticker by Mini Spall. I just wanted to put a little door in it, and I like to knock the sketchbook before entering. And as you can see, I've now worn it down because I do it so often. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I did this page after the first piece because I wanted it to be a double page spread, but I sort of took inspiration from it and gave myself some little rules and tips and tricks for working in the sketchbook. And I also did a kind of sticker page just because I wanted places to put various stickers. So, the first page is actually kind of primarily why I got a sketchbook. I wanted to learn to draw buildings and places I'd visited. So this is a location called the Waiting Room, and I absolutely loved it. And the only thing I really drawn was like big sheets of paper, and there was a sort of finality to everything I was drawing. So I decided to get a sketchbook to practice buildings. That quickly fell apart. I ended up using it as an actual sketchbook, more so than just doing buildings, but I kind of had this idea of making it like an architect sketchbook. And this spread ended up being kind of the perfect precedent for what the sketchbook had to be. It ended up having mistakes because I messed up the perspective here, so I just stuck down another page. I went over the line and I drew something on the wrong page and then had to cut it out and stick it down. And actually, you know what? As a first spread, I love it, and it is everything the sketchbook is meant to be. So, like, most of these were also primarily drawn in bed because I used to have a really tiny bedroom and there was like no desk or anything. So I would just sit in bed and draw, and like a lot of creativity came from that. So this is from a cat cafe, and this is more of the waiting room, because it was just such a cute holiday. I went there around Christmas time with my housemates, and I just wanted to record it really. It was kind of almost going to be like a travel journal as well, but like I say, it became its own thing. These are all based off photos I've taken. These aren't live sketches. But I will say when there is live sketches because they are in this sketchbook. This is a perfect example of something that didn't quite go as I wanted it to. This was a white wall, and I used to love how the light hit this wall. It didn't quite work, but I was able to learn from it, and I did it a lot more successfully in another piece. But I still adore this page. I like a lot of stuff in this sketchbook. So this is the first of something you're going to see a lot in this sketchbook and a lot of work I do, which is live role-playing. So it's basically like tabletop role-play or a video game, but you're actually doing it. It's you playing the character. And this is my character. The game is called Pride Without Prejudice, and it was basically gay regency. You could be any gender, you could marry anyone, provided they had enough money or the right reputation. And that's where the prejudice was, not in who you were as a person. So I wrote out my character's epilogue because, what can I say? That's just a thing I do. I'm obsessed with the characters I play. And also from this game, I drew some other characters and some costume studies from the game. This was my dad. He didn't want me to marry my true love because he'd been heartbroken before. It was all terribly romantic and Regency-like. It was absolutely amazing. So some people may know I'm also a photographer, and often when I used to work on big sheets of paper, I would paint my photographs. And I really felt like painting a skyscape. And I had this photo I'd taken at a game, at a live role-playing game, a different one. And I really liked the contrast of the heads in the sky, so I was like, I'm going to paint it in here. I'm not going to be so precious about my photos that I only do them on full sheets of paper. I'm going to put them in here, and you know what? I really like it. I'm glad I did it. Here is my first live piece, and I'm so proud of this. This was a garden that I've been recently moved into in Leeds, and I sat there and painted it. I spent like an afternoon doing it. The only thing I did later was I think I increased some of the shadows, and I think I finished this bit because it was starting to get a bit cold. This is a cat that I used to visit, and this is from another game. I used to stay in that hut, and I used to absolutely love it in there. And like, I used to love going back and seeing the light hitting the cabins, and it's actually this page done more successfully. So I was definitely remembering to learn from what I'd done. And this was also kind of more chronological. Like, there are things in here that aren't chronological, like stuff from like years ago, because I just have this whole folders of photo references saved for drawing and practicing that I never did anything with, so I was catching up. But this was all stuff I'd eaten at Easter, and this is a shop display in York called Betty's. And let me tell you something, I got real sick of the colour brown after this. So this is an example of something that was taken years ago. I saw this a day after I saw Star Wars The Force Awakens, and I think I watched it the day it came out. So, but I'd always loved this photo and I really wanted to give it a go. And I kind of kept with the locational stuff and just kept practicing. This took me forever, and I learned not to get too precious about things when I drew this, because I ended up not working in the sketchbook for ages, because I'd given myself this rule that I couldn't move on to a new page unless I'd finished something, and it ended up being that I just never moved on. So I ended up making this way more sketchy, and I like it even more because of it. Also, this place was like a pizza place, and I ended up paying £8 for what was essentially ham on a chopping board. London folks, it does things to you. I got real sick of drawing buildings for a bit, so I drew my friend Scarlett, who is looks amazing all the time. And I drew her cat. I love her cat, and I was like, I want to draw more cats, so I did. So I drew my friend's cats. These are all their cats. I love these cats so much. I especially love Peter, this beautiful boy. I love him so much. I really want to draw more of these cats, because these two are Maine Coons, so they're just so fluffy, and I love them so much. I love her too. She's so purry. This is a very Instagrammable and aesthetically pleasing coffee and donut shop near to where I live. Here's more of the live role-playing stuff. So this is actually a bit more like what my full pieces are like. I love to draw characters, but I found I could only draw characters and I couldn't place them in anywhere. So this character was from a game I was playing and the game finished, so I kind of did a goodbye piece for her. I was super proud of this at the time, and you know what, for what it is, I am still proud of this, and I'd love to draw this again and see how I've improved, because I know I could do better, but for what it was, I adored this. This is another one of my characters. I drew this after this next spread because I wanted it to be a double-page spread, and this happened to him in the game where I'm painting. So I was practicing with acrylic ink, and I just wanted to draw his very bad day, as I called this piece. So here is another live set. I drew and inked these live. I painted them later. Just because I was playing the game and I really wanted to, actually play the game. I wasn't playing this character. He was off screen having a really bad day, and I was painting an artist. And it was good fun doing it, but I learned that drawing people live is absolutely terrifying. The only one that wasn't technically live was this one, because this was a puppet and she needed to control it with her arm, but other than that, yep, they're all live, and it was such a learning experience, and I was so glad I did it. This is one of my favourite games, by the way. I adore this game. I drew some plants because I hadn't done very much, and I use watercolour primarily, and it's like, you should draw some plants. And I did. Yeah. I don't really have much to say about this page, I just drew some plants. So this was the artist character I was doing in that previous sketch. But I ended up not enjoying her too much. There was nothing really wrong with her as a character, but I had played the previous one and I enjoyed him way more, so I just did a spread with her saying "So Long Marion" after the Leonard Cohen song. And this is how I looked. I looked very different between these characters, and my hair was pink for a while. I had a great time looking like her, but just not a great time playing her. This page, this is one of my favourite spreads in the sketchbook. So this is kind of going back to what I always wanted it to be, which was kind of like places and adventures. And I went to this place called the Floathouse Amelie, which is a houseboat. it went up and down with the tide, and it was so cool. And I drew these live. My friend Liz and Jack found some rocks and shells, so I did these whilst we were eating fish and chips on the decking, so like here. I did these ones later based off photos, but that's because I was also enjoying the holiday. These were views from the boat. This holiday, it meant so much to me, and it was just absolutely beautiful. And I'm so happy with this spread. This is what I want a lot of my travel stuff to be like. So I go from loving something to having a very difficult time looking at something else, because this page was done during essentially a massive mental breakdown. I was really struggling, but it's okay. It's okay, because none of you actually know what these people look like, so they look fine. They didn't look like anyone I was actually drawing, but it's okay. I went to visit my friends down in Portsmouth. I drew this live technically because I saw the cloud and it looked like a poodle, and I was like, I'm going to forget that, so I drew it. This was from memory. I saw this person at a station and it was too dark for me to get my phone out and get a cheeky snap, so I just immediately went home and was like, I have to paint. I also painted the view on the ferry in Portsmouth, and then I was like, you know what, I want to draw more of this complicated skyline. So I did, and spent a long time drawing the skyline again, because I'd had this idea when I'd first done the first washes on the previous page. I was like, I kind of want to leave it like that, but I don't. So I was like, I'm going to do it again. Then I was like, I really like how it looks when I just inked it and hadn't done anything. So I did it again. Let me tell you, you can get real sick of drawing a skyline after a while. So I decided to do something inspired by the artist David Roland Powell, whose style is keep it simple, just these amazing kind of graphics of camping holidays and stuff. So I did work inspired by it and draw Portsmouth again. But I can see the waiting room, which was from the very start of the book, and Jubilee Wharf, which is where the houseboat was, as some Empire stuff. And I tried to draw wind turbines like this, but I just did that, even though I had said I like this one. So, yeah. This is the only properly unfinished thing in the sketchbook. I was doing this in summer. I was still having a bit of a mental breakdown, like you do, and I learned a whole lot doing this. I will admit, this is me properly practicing perspective. This was something else that the whole sketchbook was meant to be about, but I got real sick of it. And at this point, we were well into autumn, so I was getting real sick of painting sunny skies when it was always overcast and everything was orange. So I just kind of did enough of it. And you know what? Actually, in this unfinished state, I don't hate it. I like that your eye goes straight to the fully rendered bit. But I'd spent so long on it that I just hadn't done anything in the sketchbook for ages. So I then moved on. It had gone very firmly into autumn. My friend Lindsay had taken some photos of some squirrels, and I was super inspired by them, so I painted them. I'd also sketched them. This is my first time using my pencil crayons. The wooden stag didn't have glowing eyes, but I thought it'd be cool if they did. Actually, it'd be quite terrifying, but in a picture, it's fine. The picture can't hurt you, probably. This was from a hand fasting I went to. This was me. I didn't have wings, but I looked real cute. This was actually practice for a much bigger piece I did for them as a wedding gift, which, with the power of editing, hopefully you can see here. Yeah, I love this. I love this little collage of memories because it was such a cool location. If you can, look up The Lost Village of Doan. It's a really interesting story. Some more stuff. My friend's cat called Isambard, and this cat is a library cat. I know really cool friends, what can I say? Two friends celebrating how they look, which is always a good thing to celebrate. I also hadn't realised when I sketched them out that they were basically opposite in terms of their phones and their clothing. But, you know, happy accidents. Happy little accidents. Just some live sketching of stuff in my room. This is at my parents' place, so I live in two houses. I live at my parents' and I also live in Leeds sometimes. So if I mention my housemates, I'm talking about the Leeds housemates. If I'm mentioning my parents, I mean my parents. So yeah, here's some of the stuff there. This is another favourite spread in the sketchbook. I was just having fun. There was no theme to the page. I just did what I wanted. So I drew my Stardew Valley farmer, because you could get clothes in Stardew Valley, and that was the most exciting thing ever. I did a picture from a walk. I did a cat at the cat cafe, and I felt this cat will sell me potions. Like, I really want to do a full piece with this cat, like with some potions and stuff. This is an outfit I wore. This is like the first outfit of the day I ever did. I stayed at an Airbnb, and this was a picture I snapped, so I drew it. I love that tree. I really love that tree. Here, we had another mental breakdown. Goody. I don't like this. This was meant to be like my new social media kind of image, and it was too much like my old style. It had too much of the anime eyes going on, and I was like, I can't draw, and just like close my sketchbook, never to open it again. But then I did, because I calmed down. I tried to draw it again, and it was worse. So I folded it over, never to be seen. And I wrote down some 2020 goals. One of them was getting better at eyes and drawing more varied faces, and just kind of, I was like, okay, what don't I like about this? Why don't I like it? Why do I suddenly hate art when I love it? So I was like, here are my goals, and we're just over halfway through the year, and I've ticked off half of them, and I have adjusted some of them. But you know what? I should be proud of that, because I saw where I was going wrong, and I was like, okay, we're going to improve this. We're not going to just whine about it. And immediately I started drawing my friend's eyes. This is a page of my friend's fashion, especially like around Christmas time, because I've been saving pictures of my friends. And I realised all their names began with J. So I was like, this is J fashion. This is also my first time using gouache in this sketchbook, and because I got gouache for Christmas, let me tell you, I love gouache. This was another page that I spent absolutely ages on, because I was meant to have like some other images here. So this is the Leeds house, and some of the stuff in there, like this is my bedroom, this is the bathroom, but I just couldn't get the other ones right, so I ended up just kind of sketching in different bits and pieces from it. I spent so long on this page so this page is like New Year, this page is Easter. Like, there was a big old gap. But also I ended up doing a mini small sketchbook challenge, 30 ways to fill a sketchbook. There we go, got there in the end. But ironically, I did that on loose sheets of paper and not my sketchbook, and my actual sketchbook ended up being a bit abandoned, so it's fine. These are me and my housemates as like Animal Crossing's characters. I didn't have Animal Crossings, but I wanted to join in the fun, so I just drew us as Animal Crossing characters. This is our garden. It was a really good Easter weekend. More gouache. I got super into gouache, and I drew this is our local park, because this is about the only place you could go to because lockdown was a thing. But it was so lovely. Like, the trees were just so full of blossom. Like, I felt like I was in an anime, I'm not gonna lie. And some more springy stuff. This was a cake my housemate made for my other housemate because it was her birthday. This is my friend's dog. These are some shoes I own. This is me. One of my housemates got a picture of me walking, and I was like, I like this picture, I'm going to paint it. So we did. Look at that. Beth, why? So we're coming up to the last few spreads in the sketchbook. I went on holiday to a place called Alnmouth in Northumbria. These are all live. Sometimes they were kind of refined a bit later, but I painted everything live, which was really cool, and I learned how to do things. So my housemates and I all went together. We stayed in two separate tents, socially distanced, and we had a good roaring fire going, and this was the view. I don't like this one, but that's okay, because it was my first time, and it meant I knew how to draw it again, and I did it way better on other days. So we could see rain clouds. Well, not even rain clouds, just straight up rain falling over the sea. This is while we were having breakfast. We went into Alnwick, and there's a place called Barter Books, which is an old railway station that is now a second-hand bookstore. And my housemates went in, and I sat outside and painted it. And I got rained on, so this wasn't finished there and then. I had to finish it later, but that's okay. Like I say, I got rained on. This is the view from our tent, so we all had a bit of a break, and I drew the view. I'm a little distracted because I know my housemate is on the toilet. Anyway, this is the view from our tent. I loved that view. It was just so peaceful, and by this point I'd already drawn the view a few times, so I was getting there. I kind of knew how to do it. And we went to a pub in the evening, social distance, I promise, and there were like loads of sparrows around, so I could be sketched out. I did paint that one later because I didn't take my paints into the pub with me. But yeah, it was super cute. But then I went out to a place called Bamber, and we went to the beach and I drew the castle. I was just going to leave it inked. I quite like how it looks like that. This was all done live, apart from this one, and this one. So my housemate said I should paint it, so I did, and then I just drew it again. I was like, I'm going to get the perspective right this time. I didn't, but it's okay. This is someone I saw in the cafe there, and she looked really good, but I kind of made up the word pattern, which is a little unfortunate because I put that tree in like a really awkward place. This I drew at the end. One of like my fondest kind of visual memories of it was the tent and like the door being open, and like we had these fairy lights out the front and inside, and the moon was out. It was such a nice thing, and I was like, I'm gonna draw this. I did. And yeah, I ended up starting with an adventure I went on at the start of the sketchbook, and I finished with an adventure. So it ended up kind of like ending the sketchbook quite nicely. I do have one other page kind of following on from the first one, where I talk about what I learned and stuff to do for other sketchbooks. And I also did like a little sticker landscape because, yeah, that's what I felt like doing, just to fill in the page. And yeah, that is it. I hope you all enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching my sketchbook tour. As you may have seen at the start, I have other sketchbooks, so there should be more on this channel at some point. I'm still early days with it, so I'm figuring out what I want to do. This is the current sketchbook I'm working through. I started this one kind of at the end of April, and it's got a lot more variety in it because I'd kind of got the grips of sketchbooks and what I wanted to do. I have this one as well. Don't stack them, Beth. I have this one as well. This is where I draw out my dreams. I have this one, which is my ugly sketchbook. And I also have this beast, which is my new learning how to draw buildings one. It's not particularly filled in, but it's there. So I do have a Ko-fi where you can see some of the content of these sketchbooks. This one ends up on my Instagram, which I'll have linked in the description, but not every spread on it, so there will eventually be a sketchbook tour of this one. My Ko-fi, the beauty of Ko-fi is you can make one-off donations as well as monthly ones, so if you just enjoyed the video and want to support me, you can make a one-off donation and buy me some tea. If you want to see more from me, some more exclusive stuff, then you can become a monthly supporter, a bit like Patreon, and I would really appreciate that. And you'll see more content from me, and yeah, hopefully this is the start of a new adventure, but we'll see. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you stick around and have a wonderful day. Thank you very much. Bye bye. I don't know how to wave goodbye. How do I... Bye.